So some of the greatest challenges that pastors face right now aren't in the areas of what we've seen ministry tragedy happen in. So for instance, people lose their ministry over moral failure. People lose their ministry over doctrinal compromise. But most often, it's not either one of those two obvious examples. It's actually through more subtle leadership issues. And those things manifest in the pulpit, in our preaching. And so when we're guarding our hearts and lives, what do we make sure we don't want to drift into? Have to avoid, for instance, drifting into political arguments. Now, we live in a culture that's polarized. I mean, it's charged with political kind of combat and constant conversation. And so we have to avoid drifting into kind of the culture wars. Doesn't mean that we don't address cultural issues from a biblical perspective and worldview, especially as it comes from the passage that we're preaching and teaching through. But it means that we're not looking for an opportunity to this Sunday, I'm going to walk through and I'm going to tackle what I saw on the news or what we're seeing on the internet and all those types of things. So avoiding political agendas, but sometimes we limit that to cultural politics when also we need to include church politics. So sometimes as pastors, we actually find ourselves drifting into having an argument or a conversation in our sermon with people that we've envisioned. We know where they're standing as we're trying to lead and navigate some things and from our church perspective, and we know the obstacles or the opponents to our perspective, and we're hoping they're listening. I hope they're hearing what I'm saying right now. And when we do that, we all of a sudden have taken our eye off the ball. We're not focused any longer at that point on the truth of God's word and the spiritual formation of his people as much as we are the political agendas that are going on in our churches. I think sometimes we can also drift into kind of areas of personal ambition. I mean, we live in a world where it's just all about influence, influence, how many followers you have and all these types of things. And when we do that, it's easy, especially in preaching, which is a very prominent and public act, to kind of gravitate towards the intoxication of affirmation and hearing our name mentioned or seeing someone post or having those comments after the sermon. And we can gravitate towards that, and all of a sudden we begin to develop our sermons and even preach in a way that's asking for those or looking for those types of compliments or feedback. When in reality, again, it takes our eye off the primary responsibility we've been given, which is to be faithful to the truth of God's word so that he can use it in the lives of his people. And those are the areas where oftentimes leadership begins to unravel because that creeps into our preaching, which is another reason why expositional leadership is so vital to keep us grounded in leading and feeding God's people well.